You are now tuned in to the Project 365 experience.
Yo, what up?
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, we got it. We got him. We got him. Honored.
What's good, man? What's good?
Honored to be joined by the head coach of Royal Crown Academy, Mike Giorgio. Mike, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Listen, Mike.
How's the weather up in Orangeville, man?
Oh man, like it's not bad yet, but you know how it gets at a certain point. You know how them drives up there, it gets challenging, right? So,
Yep.
Mike, I wanted to be the first one to be like, yo, here, you know what this is?
Nah, what is it?
Flowers. I want to be the first one to give you your flowers for this season.
All right, man.
Yo, has anybody had, and I know you're a very modest guy, has anybody had a season like you've had this year?
I'm sure somebody has. I mean, shit. Somebody out there wins too. I don't know.
It's been crazy, but for the listeners, I'm just going to start off. 2023 OSBA champion, 2023 CEBL champion, 2023 OSBA Coach of the Year. You had you got the opportunity to coach 3 BioSteel All-Canadians. You had the Player of the Year in David Simon, and combined 6 singers that got placed, if I'm not mistaken. There might be more, but I know 6 for sure.
7.
7, eh? 7. You got one more.
Yeah.
7.
One more.
Like,
yeah, man.
It must have been like such a whirlwind. Like, how has everything been? Like, just juggling all of that, because you're one of the few that get this opportunity to do high school and then pro. How was all of that?
Yeah, I mean, the seasons work out really well. So when we started all this, like, we planned it all out, right? Like, it's something that works well, because once the high school season is done, and school is done, then we just flow right, like it flows seamlessly right into the CEBL stuff. So it's an easy transition. Obviously, it comes with a different mindset of coaching. Like, coaching high school is not the same as coaching pro, right? Like, so you have to switch up your mind a little bit and start to think about different ways to engage the guys. You get a little bit more advanced. But to be honest, like, we run our program at Royal Crown very much so as a university / professional at a professional level. Like, we don't switch up our drills too much. Like, it's, we might spend less time with the pros on stuff, obviously. But like, a lot of the stuff that we do stays similar between the two. So we're just trying to give everybody, a first-class experience, and hopefully, you get lucky enough to win a bunch of games, and then you look good at the end of the season.
For sure. So, I want to stay on that, because like, you saying that, and it's something that I felt in a way, and this is how I felt it. Okay, so at the BioSteel event, I got the opportunity to just be around Mike F. Bagaru, Jahari Williamson. I got the opportunity to be around David Simon, and like, I noticed that in a way, those weren't regular high schoolers. Like, just in terms of like, man, their mind and their character and all that kind of stuff, right? So 2 questions off of this. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, go.
No, I'm just gonna say, like, those guys are exceptional. Like, those are not the norm. Like, between those guys, then you have Justice Hazley, who's still with me, and Coat Thomas and Hunter Harding. Like, those are my OGs. Those are the kids that we started Crown with, right? And it's like, nah, those guys are different. They just have a different mindset, and they totally understand, and they do everything the right way. So I got to give them a lot of credit as well, because like, they're part of it too. It's not just me or whoever, Chris Exlis. Like, it's all of us. We started it, and we are able to win last year, but it was a lot of it was because of those kids.
That's the vibe that I'm getting, because like, just the maturity. Like, you tell them to be somewhere, they're not only going to be there at the time you're going to say it, they're going to be there like 15 to 20 minutes before. You don't ever have to wait on those guys. And I want to know kind of like, is that part of the beauty of getting the chance to coach professional and coaching high school, is that there are certain habits that you pick up from professionals, you kind of try to transmit it to the high schoolers?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, obviously, like at the professional level, things are a little bit more lax in terms of like what the daily schedule looks like. With high schoolers, you got to have everything down to a T, because you can't leave them by themselves on their own to do stuff. Like
Mhm.
everything in a day for us is very mapped out, and it's all mapped out a certain way because of certain reasons, you know. But we're in the professional game, like it's get to the gym on time, get your work in, and you don't really got to push them because they're motivated, right? Um, and then at the professional level, like it's who shows up and who's ready to play when it matters, you know. And that's at the end of the day, you know, you got to get ready for the biggest games with those guys.
How do you help, let's say, a high schooler be able to kind of like get to that mindset? Like, what are some of the things that you kind of like? Is it just keeping them accountable? Is it something more?
Yeah,
Is it you got to find ways to intrinsically motivate them? Like, how does it, you know?
yeah. I mean, most high level kids have that intrinsic motivation because they're trying to get to the next step. Like professionals are where they got to be, and now they're just fighting for contracts. They're fighting for jobs, right? High schoolers, they still got university. They still got what are they going to look like when they get to the pro level. So they got a lot of steps, and I think just, you know, putting people around them that are great role models, putting people around them that they can compete against in practice every day, and really like holding them accountable for their own actions at all times, whether it's on the court, off the court, in school, out of school.
Right.
Like you guys are accountable for what you do, and when you do something, it comes with either consequences or flowers, one of the two. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So you figure out which one you want it to be, and if you want to be a part of like a winning culture, then you got to make the right choice. Most like pretty much all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's I'm telling you, man, it's so nice to talk to you, because it's like it's something that I've been very curious about, like having the chance to like compete against you for the past 2.5, 3 years, and just like seeing it. And it was like your teams were always like super well prepared. Um, it always seemed like, even though there was a scouting report, like there's no such thing as a scouting report. The kids were so like they just play with such a maturity, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean
And
those
it's
guys
like,
especially. Yeah,
and it's like now you got the opportunity to play 7 guys. So you got Jahari Williamson, who went to Valpo, Mike F. Bagar, who's at Siena, Hunter Harding, Central Michigan, DJ's at San Diego, Coat's at St. FX, Oliver Lucas is at Augusta, and you have Devontae Hackett, who's at Brock, right?
right.
So it's like in terms of recruiting, like getting a certain how does the recruiting process work for you? Because it seems like they come in, they know, because if I'm looking on this list, you had 3 of those guys that came in with you for 1 year.
Yeah,
So how
you
did you
know,
get the blend? Yeah.
I
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing, when you win, everybody eats because everybody wants a winner at the next level. Like
Mm.
that was the biggest. You know, not all those guys. Only Jahari signed early. Everybody else was there as of April. Everybody wasn't signed yet, right? So like when we won the championship, now it becomes like now you start listing off accolades, and when you can list off accolades to coaches, it's like okay,
Right.
like why not take this guy? You
Right.
know, and it becomes more than just basketball. And when you can
Right.
sell more than just basketball, now you really got a package that you can show the coach and be like, okay, this is the full package of a kid. You know, this is what they're going to bring to your program. They're a winning player. They're going to contribute to winning. Do you want like this is something that you can use to better yourself? Because obviously, like these coaches are moving the same way that kids are moving in the transfer portal. So they're always trying to move up, and they're always trying to win. And when they win, they get to move up too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's one of those things that now you're giving them something that they can like tangibly hold on to. Like this is a winning player. He comes from a winning team. He can help me move up now. You know. So you don't just got to tell them, oh, this kid could shoot, this kid could pat. No, no, it's like we can win with this guy. And I think that was the biggest change in every conversation that I had last year. And there was a lot, obviously, with 7 seniors. So
that's a big point, because like I think a lot of times, the mentality of, and we're in the very like we're in an era where we want instant gratification. We want the glory. We want somebody to make a mixtape about us. We want to score a lot of points so a scout can post us and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm realizing from what you're saying is a big part of it has to do with, if I could be a good player and play with good players, I pick up on good habits naturally.
100%. And that selling that to kids is super, super hard, because everybody's looking at me like, hey, coach, I want the ball. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably just going to guard, rebound, and make open threes. Like, you want to win, or you want to put up some empty stats and a loss? You tell me, because if that's a conversation that is done and had from time, like when we first meet, and that's a convo that the kids have to buy into. And the good part about having a deep squad with people who want to be there, it's not dependent on one guy. Like, if you're not following our culture, if you're not part of a winning culture, well, you can just sit next to me, buddy. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else, and we're fine with it. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, you want to go somewhere else? Okay, great. We'll see you in the finals. Like, it's not by accident. You know what I mean? Like, all the stuff that happens is not by accident. So it's jump on the wagon or get left behind, really, at the end of the day.
So like, but this is so good, because like it's you kind of get that unique perspective of, I coach professionals, and like I have a feeling, the way this is how I kind of start thinking about it. I'm like, yo, I don't know if younger players don't think that professionals go through some of the stuff that they're going through, but on a different scale, right? Or you're saying
100%.
like a professional will come into a situation and be like, yo, I feel like I could be this player, but for me to be successful on this team, I have to almost understand that I have to play a role.
Yeah. The best pros know exactly who they are. They know exactly what they're good at, and they stick to exactly what they're good at. Mm-hmm. The moment they try to do too much, now they look bad and they can't get that next contract, because it's like, and yeah, it caps you, but it also caps you at the most amount of money that you can make when you fully understand your role. Like, I think that's a huge part of team building and all those types of things. You hear about it with USA basketball all the time. You could throw together 12 dudes that have the most talent. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win, though, because they don't play well together, they don't mesh together, and they don't work together. And I think being able to play different ways and being able to be versatile, that's the key.
Right. Right. So how do you transmit that kind of information? And what are some ways that we can transmit that kind of information to, let's say, somebody who's in high school, who, let's say, doesn't necessarily have the pressure of having to find a next job? And right now, basketball is kind of something that they do for quote unquote fun, but it's transitioning into that avenue. How do you transmit that to a high schooler?
Yeah, that's super hard, because, obviously their road isn't finished. Like, they're not at the end of the road. They're just sort of in the middle somewhere. So they can always still develop. But at the same time, it's like, okay, what's your next goal? Is your next goal winning? Is your next goal getting better? Is your next goal putting up 20 a game? It's almost individualized at that point, because some people are very like, I need my buckets. And other people are very like, well, I'll do anything it takes to win, even if it means sitting. And, those are the mature kids. Those are the kids that understand, what we just talked about. But at the same time, like, you got to give them something in practice to develop and get better. And like, they got to see some tangible results in order to take that sacrifice when the game time comes. You know what I mean? Like, they got to see themselves and feel themselves getting better in practice every day against the really good players, so that when it is their turn, now they're ready to step in and do big things.
Right. I found that was always, like, for me, that was like the hardest part, is just to be able to get them to just like understand that, like, to me it makes sense, but like to a high schooler it doesn't really make sense. It's kind of like, like, everybody wait your turn kind of thing. Yeah,
you have to be mature, like, and that's a really hard skill as a 16, 17-year-old to master, like, because you always want to be the best, and you want to work towards being the best, but sometimes it's just not possible. Like, you either athletically you're not there, skillfully you're not there, size wise you're not there. Like, all those things play a factor, and that's the unfortunate part, but they do. Like, at the end of the day, basketball's a big guy game at some point, and the guys who make it that are small, they got something that's exceptional. And when you can be exceptional at one or two things, now you can really start to play at the next level. But for the most part, like, I call them the airport all-stars. If you walk off the plane and you look the part, you're going to get a lot more opportunities than other guys. Just by how you look, you know what I mean?
Right. So talk about your Royal Crown team from last year. What made that group special? And when did you know, and it could have been like the year before or whatever. When did you know, like, oh shoot, we got a chance to win the whole thing?
Honestly, as soon as David told me he was coming, I looked at Chris and I said, we got a chance. You know what I mean? Like, we're right there, because he just fit so well with our guys, and we saw it at Canada Games. Like, that's like, we had the preview. You know what I mean? Like, the reason why those guys were so good and so well oiled together is because they knew exactly who they were, and they played off each other that way. Like, Jahari was the PG, Mike was the do-it-all guy, Coet was the defender, rebounder, slasher. Like, David was just I never called a play for David ever. Like, he was just a guy who would rebound, get open buckets, make some shots, transition. Hunter was the big dude under the rim that could finish, body guys up in the paint. Then we had a deep bench where guys would play a role and come in and be who they were. And I think just overall, we were able to get everybody to a spot where they did what they did, and everybody else would pick up where they were not as good, right? And we figured that out somehow during the year. It was funny because I think we lost 7 games total last year, and we lost 4 games in 1 week. We went to OTE, we lost 2, then we lost at the buzzer to Fort Erie, and then we lost at the buzzer to Victory. And it was like 4 games in a row, and we're looking at each other like, yo, what's going on right now? And it's like, it's okay. Like, gotta work through some kinks sometimes. Like, it's hard as hell to go undefeated. Like, everybody's talking about undefeated. Nah, like, that shit is hard as fuck. Like, it's really hard to be undefeated, because somebody's coming at your neck every game. You know what I mean? When you're the top dog. But we're glad that it happened during the middle of the season, and by the end of it, I think guys knew exactly what they needed to do, and we practiced harder in the last little part of the season than we did during the season, because it was almost like, okay, get us to the final, like, get us to the final 8, get us to the final 8, get us to the final 8. And once we were there, then we were able to really lock in on roles and, all the things that come with winning a championship. We were able to lock into that, and they knew exactly what they needed to do, and they did it. So, kudos to them.
Right. I wanna kind of like talk about a specific, 2 specific situations, right? When you're talking about somebody like Mike F. Bagaru, right? Last year, I felt like he was kind of like that X factor, that unscoutable kind of like X factor. Everybody was focused on the all Canadians that you guys had on your roster at that time. But Mike would just come in and just do whatever the team needed. And then he just seemed like he was hitting the big shot whenever it was to happen. And then when you're talking about somebody like Devontae Hackett, who's a great kid, was at Curtis before, had a great situation. He comes into your program and understands that there are certain sacrifices he's going to have to make. And there's a certain part of this season where I noticed, I wasn't on the inside, but I noticed that he came off the bench and he came in and he was really good at it. How do you talk with players in just helping them understand the sacrifice and how we could provide dividends?
I mean, I'll start with Mike. Like, bar none, Mike's the best winner I've ever coached. Like, pro, high school, university, whatever it is, he just knows how to win. He does everything needed to win. Like, in the last 2 years, I think I put together the record. We're 73-10 with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
We lost one game when he missed one game the entire time, and we were 0-1 in that game. Like it's just funny how it works that like he was just I tell him this all the time, like I'd play anybody anywhere as long as him and Jahari were playing, because
Oh,
like
big time.
between those two,
Yeah.
yeah, like between those two, like I just had so much trust in those guys, and they knew exactly what I needed, and I knew what they needed, and it was kind of just a great synergy between those guys, and we had a lot of talks to get to that point. So it was just one of those things that I was so happy to see him get a Division 1 with a team that I think is going to use him the right way, because he is a guy that is just about winning. Like he will do whatever it takes. The first year, we had a bunch. He was a fourth year, so he didn't start, and
Mm-hmm.
he was probably our best player. And
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I said, listen, like you tell me if you feel like you want to start, you tell me and I'll make it work. But I think you can handle it better coming off the bench than other guys. And he goes, Coach, don't worry about it. You tell me what you need, and I'll give you whatever you need. And it wasn't one of those things where he played bench minutes. He still played starter minutes, but he
Mm-hmm.
just came off the bench to start. He would
Right.
always finish. It's just he just came off the bench to start, and it was developing that trust. And he won OSBA All Star that year, and developing
Mm-hmm.
that trust with him, I think really that leads into what happens with DJ, because when DJ first came to me at the end of the season, or at the beginning of the season last year, and he said, Coach, I want to come. I said, okay, but you got to understand, like we got our 5 starters already, and you're going to be in your 5th year. Like, how does that feel for you? And he goes, no, I totally get it. Like, I think I can play that role, and I think part of that comes from I talked to him about what Mike had did the year before. So there
Right.
was I had some clout because there was an OSBA All-Star that came off the bench, so DJ's more likely to listen to what I'm saying. And it ended up working out for him. He ended up getting, basically a full scholarship to Brock, who's one of the top teams in Canada, and he's going to
Mm-hmm.
play a role there, which is great, and I think he can develop to be a great pro based off that, based off what he's going to do there with Coach Willie and all his staff.
Right. So bouncing the bouncing to Scarborough Shooting Stars, right? Um, Obviously you go through that, and now you're pivoting to like your season and whatnot. Like, when did you know when did you know that you guys were like really good? Because this is the
Um,
second year. This is the second year, eh? If I'm not mistaken.
yeah, we made the finals the first year, lost,
Uh,
and then this year was sort of championship or bust, really, like in our minds. That's what it was, and we built a team. The thing with the CEBL, like it's almost like there's 3 seasons, honestly, because it's who's playing the best in August. That's who wins. So you got to get to August in a good spot as well.
yeah.
So you have the first part of the season when everybody's just coming back from Europe, so you never really have your full team. Then you get your team prior to summer league, so more June-ish. You play a whole bunch of games with a bunch of guys, and then NBA summer league starts. It depends who goes and who's leaving, and when you catch one team versus when you catch
Mm-hmm.
another team, and who's hurt for a couple games, because it's a shorter season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once summer league is done and everybody's back, it's that like late stretch run where you got to put yourself in position to be able to get to the Final Four, and then once you're there, like have the best, whatever you can do to get the best draw, do it, because I think that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question about when I knew we were going to win,
Mm-hmm.
um, shit, I don't know that we knew that,
Yeah.
honestly. Like
Mm-hmm.
we were down 14 to Ottawa in the quarterfinals. In the second half, we made a huge comeback, and obviously with Elam, it changes things because you've got to score to win. You can't run out of clock.
Right.
So we pulled that game out on the road. Then we had to go to Vancouver and play against Niagara, who was the top team all year. We ended up winning that game by 3, and it grinded out 74-71. And I think like once we won that, I think everybody just had this like confidence. I was just like, okay, yeah, we're going into the championship game on Sunday. Honestly, it didn't matter who we were playing. I think we were winning. Just based on our mindset and what we knew what we could get to, you know.
So how do you go about just your how different is the preparation between high school and pro? Like, how different is because you kind of said that you guys do a lot of things that are similar, but
Yeah.
like, is there like something that's like, I want to say glaring different?
Yeah, yeah. How in depth you go on scouting reports. Like, obviously, like we played this year for CEBL, we played 20 regular season games and what, 4 playoff games. So we played 24 games. So in 24 games in 3 months, as opposed to high school where you're going to play 30 to 40 games in 3 months, like, so you obviously can't get as in depth on your scouts.
Right.
And the pros can process more. They've
Yeah.
been around. They have
Yeah.
experience.
They
You know,
probably
so
know
all
the
of our
players
scouting stuff
more.
is
They know the players more a
100%.
little bit. Yeah. And also when they watch the film, they're able to kind of pick up on those habits.
Yeah, so they're just more experienced in taking in information and applying it to a game. So, you know, in high school, it's mostly about us. You know, we'll give some personnel stuff based on if you're a shooter, non-shooter, like that type of stuff helps because the kids can understand who should guard who and all of those things. But yeah, like I'll give them 2-3 plays max in high school. At pro, it's 7 or 8 at least, plus an end out and a side out. You know, maybe a few ATOs that we'll have on the bench ready to draw up when we're on defense. Like, it's a lot more in depth, and there's more people involved, and there's more video, and there's more everything. So like high school is it's still there, but it's like the bare bones. And then you get to pro, and now it's like really in depth, and you get to, you know, expand on a lot of the points that you make in the high school game.
So you being around basketball, because again, me, I noticed because I've been following you for a little while. So like, you get the opportunity to just be at the Canadian university level. You get the opportunity to go to high school, premier prep high school, and then you're doing a CBL. Obviously, you get a chance to be professional and all that kind of stuff. Like, talk about the growth of the game and how it's changed just in the past, like, because it seems like post-COVID, like we're in a whole different monster now, eh?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it changes constantly. Like, I think one of the biggest things you have to do as a coach is evolve with the times. Like, you can't be crazy hard-headed about what you do. I changed my entire philosophy in 2021 for the last, maybe like the first 14 years that I coached. Like, I had a certain way of thinking, and then 2021 came, and it was like, it was almost like a switch. And it's like, okay, like I learned some new stuff. I thought about it during
Oh,
COVID.
Mike,
You weren't
Mike,
actually coaching.
I have to ask you, what is it, the biggest thing that you changed on? I have to ask you. Like,
Oh, it's
just give me one
defense.
thing.
It's defense.
Yeah.
It's defense for sure. It's
Yeah.
defense and like certain things about offense. Like for my whole life, I was always a force baseline defense. You know, the over help, come strong side, no strong side help, all that kind of stuff. And then 2021 came, and I give a lot of credit to Ryan Schmidt because I learned a lot working with him when I worked for the Honey Badgers as well. But it changed my whole perspective on what to do defensively and what worked and what didn't. And like, it was like the combos that we had and everything that we had was really in depth. And I think a lot of it was things that were sort of there prior to COVID. And now it was like, I thought about them. I watched a lot of film during COVID, did a lot of film work with people on Zoom, during COVID. And then once I got to those combos, and now it's like, okay, now it's actually on the court, man. Like, it was just eye-opening to me. And it was easy to sort of switch my philosophy there because I had some background already.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that it was like a light went off and it was just there.
It's so funny that you're saying that, because like, I think like when I first started coaching, right, I had played a certain way. Everybody was forcing baseline. Everybody like forced baseline, low man help, X out on the weak side, right? But now the more I'm into it, I'm starting to think like, if everybody is forcing baseline, if you start sending people to the middle and just be in the gap,
It's you know, honestly, there's certain
It throws
things.
people off. Mm-hmm.
No, for sure, it messes with your head, and
Mm-hmm.
and like it's funny because certain concepts that we use, I got to get the kids to trust me on them because they're looking at me like, Coach, I've never done this before, and I'm like, yeah, you just do it, like you'll see it, and we hammer it on film every single time it happens, and by the end of the season, like like the juniors, even my grade 9s and 10s are like they're locked in. The guys who they that were here last year, now this year, they're just locked in on the things that we do, and it's because they've had a full season. And I think just some of the defensive stuff, like having institutional knowledge of what you know and what you're learning every year, is a game changer.
Right.
Like it just helps so much when you're starting ahead of everybody else. And I see it more this year because this year we have so many new guys compared to last year where we had a lot of holdovers. And I think that's really been one of the biggest differences coaching this year versus last year. Like last year, I trusted the kids a lot because they were all kids that had come back.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew kind of what my expectations were. And now this year, we're starting a little bit more towards zero. And it's like, okay, we got to build everything up again. You
Yeah.
know, you got to build up your trust. You got to build up their willingness to do what you're asking them to do. So yeah, I think that's huge for us.
Yeah. But it also helps that you kind of have like you got a little pedigree now because like, I won at the high school level. Our team won at the professional level. Like, and you get the chance to be around these pros, right? Because at a certain point, there's kind of like a bit of a crossover where like, certain pros might come into the building and like, oh coach,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, oh coach, you know this pro? Oh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and all those things.
No, for real, like it does help, and getting there was hard, and now it's like sustaining it is going to be a whole different challenge, and it's going to be a whole different way of thinking, and it's going to be a whole different way of like people are coming for you now. Like it's you gotta you've proved what you've done, but what you've done doesn't matter this year. This year's completely different. Like you got to reprove it and you got to redo it. And it's a different set of kids, and it's going to be a different Scarborough team next year. Like it's just one of those things that every season comes with a new challenge, and you just got to keep proving it as much as possible.
Yeah. Oh, Mike, this was great. I have one last question. First of all, thank you for taking the time, man. Like I know you're a busy guy, so for you taking this close to hour to just like chop it up with me, I appreciate it so much, man. Thank you.
No worries, man. Anytime.
So my final question is, when did you find out that you were going to coach J. Cole? And what happened the first time that you saw him?
Man, my guy J. Cole, man, he was. It was like the week before training camp was gonna open. We were just talking about our roster and talking. We knew we had one American spot left, and we were walking out of Crown, and everybody's like, "Oh, we got an announcement tomorrow. We got an announcement at our meeting. We're gonna have an announcement." So we're there, and it's like, yeah, we're last guy, Jermaine Cole, and in my head, I'm not thinking like J. Cole. Like I thought it was just like a dude named Jermaine Cole, and it's like, nah, J. Cole. And I'm like, damn, bro. Like I seen him hoop a little bit. Like where is he at? So I'm watching his clips and everything, and then he comes to training camp, and honestly, like it was a cool experience, but by hour one of training camp, it was done. Like it was just he's just another dude on the team working. He works his ass off to play. Like he's in there getting extra shots. He's doing his physio work. He's doing his weight room work. Like he was there he was just a team member. And then, it always hits you when you go to an away game and it's like, nah, we can't go in that entrance. And we're like, what are you talking about? That's the entrance we always go in. And it's like, no, Cole's on the bus. Like, or Cole's coming in this way. And it's like, the fans were just insane. Like, I don't know if you were at that first Montreal game or not. But that game was
I wasn't.
crazy.
I missed that one game. It was insane. I know. I gave my tickets. I was mad.
They had to delay the game 20 minutes because there was 5,000 people still outside when the game was supposed to start. Like it was just crazy. But yeah, like he was such a good guy to have. Like he could shoot. He was a shooter from he shot like 50% from three in the season. And guys would go at him, obviously, because they see it's J. Cole on the other side. And it's like, yo, let me get my 5 minutes of fame,
Yeah.
but you know, overall, it was a great experience. And then he came back for the finals. Like, he's been locked in with us. You know, he sends us video messages every now and then. Like, he's a great dude, man. He's a great guy to have around, really down to earth. And honestly, it was no different than just having another dude on the team.
Yeah.
You know, when you were in the locker room chopping it up, like, he was just another guy, which was awesome.
Mhm. And it's funny because you being around like guys like J. Cole, Nico, and guys like Drake and stuff like that, like it's like you realize that they just want to be regular people. Like they just like, yeah,
100%.
don't treat me like
And that's that's what it is. Like, and I think that's one of the main things is you always just gotta, you know, you gotta take the person for what they're worth. Like, you got to talk to them like it's just me and you talking right now. Like, there's no difference in the way that you communicate with those guys, and they really appreciate that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Coach Mike, man, thank you so much. Like, I know I took up some of your time, but this was great. I am honestly like not a lot of people do this, but me, I'm just like real recognize real. And when I see how far you've come, when I see the work that you put in, when the players rave about you, and I just talk with everybody and they just say so much good things about you, man. Like, listen, I can't help but want whatever's best for you, man. So I know you guys gonna do your best to try to repeat this year. So you guys keep it up, man. I'm very happy for you, my friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always a pleasure. You know, you guys got a good thing going up there too. So keep it up. And guys like yourself, you know, keep getting better, keep doing different things, look at things a different way, talk to a whole bunch of people. Like, doing that shows that you're really invested in your own growth as well as others. So, you know, appreciation for you too. You know,
Yeah.
take your flower. I ain't got no flowers here, but I give you them too if I had them.
We could share yours because when I give them to you, you didn't want
All
them.
right, there you go. There you go, man. You can have them.
Yeah, Coach Mike, I appreciate you, man. I'll be seeing you soon. I'll be talking to you, you know, so all right. So good luck to you guys this season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good luck. Good luck. We'll talk.